Reuters is reporting on another epic fail from the U.S. government. They say, weapons shipped into Jordan for Syrian rebels by the CIA in Saudi Arabia were stolen by Jordanian intelligence operatives and sold to arms merchants on the black market, citing American and Jordanian officials. Some of the stolen weapons were used in a shooting in November that killed 2 Americans and 3 others at a police training facility in Jordan. This is according to a joint investigation by the New York Times and Al Jazeera, by the way. Jordanian officers who were part of the plan reaped a windfall from the sale of the weapons, using the money to buy iPhones, SUVs, and other luxury items. So file this under example number 9372 of the United States military-industrial complex arming people and it going incredibly wrong. Wrong to the point where our own people were killed by said weapons. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? But I say that, but I know why we do this. We do this because it's systemic corruption. That's what the military-industrial complex is. It's not, a bunch of elites in a smoke-filled back room going, yes, we will control the world and make bad things happen. No, it's out in the open. It's a conspiracy that's out in the open. It's just bad incentives that align. So you have the defense corporations and companies pay money to the politicians get in power, and then they pass these contracts for the defense companies that gave them money. And so you have an endless supply of weapons, you build more and more weapons, you build more and more tanks, you build more and more planes, and you can't just have it sit around all the time. You gotta sell it. You gotta get rid of it so that you can keep making it and we can keep the economy going. Our welfare in this company is warfare. Did you know that there are companies in every single state in the country that build defense goods? I mean, think about that. There's a reason why they did that. They did that so we can keep this churning, keep this military-industrial complex churning. And this is what Eisenhower warned about. He's like, hey, man, little problem here. War can be really profitable for some people, really profitable for some captains of industry who run these defense companies, and look out for that because we don't want to make it so our economy is largely based on war. So what do? We build a surplus of all these different weapons and tanks and ammunition. So I don't know, give them to people. Give them all around the world. Okay, so Egypt, here you go. An authoritarian regime in Egypt that used the weapons to brutally kill peaceful protesters a few years ago. Don't care. Here's more weapons for you. Give it to Israel so they can continue their illegal occupation and settlement building. Here you go. No problem with that whatsoever. Billions of dollars a year for you. Saudi Arabia. You want more weapons so that you can go continue to bomb civilians in Yemen with an over 50% civilian death rate? By all means, go right ahead. So keep giving out the weapons, and whoops! Oh my goodness, would you look at that? First of all, a lot of the weapons went to Syrian rebels who we thought, we vetted these people. They're really good people. Soon as they walked across the border into Syria, they handed all their weapons over to al-Nusra, which is Al-Qaeda in Syria. So congratulations, we armed Al-Qaeda in Syria. What a great move that was. And now we have another story here where, we'll give it to Jordanian officials, and our allies in Jordan are going to give it to the Syrian rebels, and Saudi Arabia backs this, so it's all good. Nope, turns out the Jordanian officials took it, sold it on the black market, made a bunch of money off it, and then those weapons were used to kill Americans. No, but this is always what happens. Going back to fucking Ronald Reagan. Look at what he did. Let's arm the Mujahideen in order to fight the Soviet Union. At the time, the evil Soviet communist empire was fighting in Afghanistan. So what did we do? Enemy of my enemy is my friend. Go to the Afghanistan resistance and arm them. Well, that was Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen. The Mujahideen later broke up and became the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And they fought us with our weapons. What a terrible idea this is. But this is what we always do. Do you have any idea how much less violence there would be in the world if the United States just cut its arms flow by 40% to the rest of the world? Just 40%. There would be so much less violence. Now, don't get me wrong. Sure, other people would fill the void to an extent, but don't you want to not have blood on our hands? Like, why? For everybody out there, there's so many people out there who are rightly, massively anti-Islamic fundamentalism. I agree. Let's stop arming the Islamic fundamentalists. It's not that hard to figure out. Our unholy alliance with Saudi Arabia has birthed so many problems for the world. They spread Wahhabism all around the world. They're backing the Syrian rebels. That should tell you something about the Syrian rebels. These are Islamists and jihadists, and we're fine giving arms to them. And oftentimes, we try to give arms to them, and it gets stuck in the Jordanians' hands. They sell it on the black market, and Americans die that way too. So, we're fueling all these problems around the world by sending all these arms everywhere. We need to retool our industries here at home. We can't just have an economy built on death and destruction. There's other things we can be involved in, and we can build, and we can, change the way our economy functions. This isn't written in the laws of nature that we have to continue down this path, which ends up being a detriment to everybody on the planet. And if stories like this don't change your mind about that, I don't know what the fuck will. I don't know what will. Because there's all the evidence in the world that it's been a bigger problem when we're so involved in the arms trade. And it could just be better if we weren't. So what are we waiting for? We gotta move away from this. I mean, at this point, it's a simple matter of self-preservation.